Thank you. Thank you, Monsignor, Professor Sachs, and other distinguished panelists. And thank you once again for the invitation. I'm both humbled and honored to be among you all. So, a background. In 2016, my husband, John Bell Edwards, and I were blessed to become the governor and first lady of Louisiana. And as pro-life, whole-life Democrats, we are considered an oddity in politics. Some would even use the word unicorn to just give us a description. But we hit the ground running, and there were so many problems to tackle, a $2 billion deficit, and poverty was chief among the problems, which has been a long time issue in our state. On the first day of office, my husband signed an executive order to expand the Medicaid to the working poor. And today, there are over 600,000 people with health insurance that didn't have it before, and the lowest percentage of uninsured in our state's history. The issue of human sex trafficking was not on my radar, but it quickly came to the forefront as a pressing matter that needed to be addressed in our state. You see, prior to this position as First Lady, I'd never even heard of this type of crime, but I soon came to understand that it existed right under my everyday walk. Many of you may know or have heard of Sister Eugenia Bonetta from Rome. She's been working in this space for decades, and it is through her work, Father Jeff Bahi, and the Hospital Sisters of Mercy that I came to be involved in this work of human sex trafficking. In January of 2017, we met in Rome to learn even more and to meet others that were doing this hard work of trying to end trafficking. We were introduced to women from all walks of life, but ending up in the same situation due to these traffickers. So my journey of understanding began at this point. In all sincerity, I was reluctant to take on this issue of human sex trafficking at first. It was so incredibly hard to hear the stories of adults and especially children who are being victimized. And I didn't want to hear the ugliness of this terrible crime that is happening all across our world, to include Louisiana. But I listened to those who had been on the front lines and I prayed about it. And as a practicing Catholic trying to live out my faith, I accepted the calling to use this platform, my new platform, and leverage my leadership role as First Lady to raise awareness about this serious crime. We soon learned that there's a real connection between poverty and human sex trafficking, as we have seen in Louisiana. And that's why we in Louisiana focus our efforts toward helping foster youth establish permanent relationships, and why we recently extended foster care to 21 years of age. That is huge. The goal is to surround these foster youth with the resources and support they will need to exit the foster care program as stable, confident adults with relationships that they can continue to rely upon. Currently, we have about 233 youth in our extended foster care program. But children in foster care are at a greater risk of being victimized by human sex trafficking. And it is estimated in our state that 60% of child sex trafficking victims have a history in the child welfare system. And on any given day in our state of Louisiana, we have an average of over 4,000 children in our foster care system. So, and since 2016, we've been able to have historical numbers of adoptions out of our system. Been working hard in that area. So over 4,000 children in the last 6 years, and 70% of these children were returned to their family when that family was counseled and given the support they needed to stand back up. That's also very big and number and percentage that we're proud of. So we had a visit from Monsignor here to Louisiana, and I supported, and my husband signed into law this year, a bill that created the Governor's Office of Human Sex Trafficking Prevention. And this new office is Louisiana's first government entity that is solely dedicated to addressing human sex trafficking. And so it was a wonderful day that Monsignor was here. We were able to sign that into law. So it was a really powerful moment in our state's history. So we all understand that these crimes have no borders. So in 2020, like everyone else, we took to Zoom, and I started reaching out to other states and their first spouses to really see how we could all work together on a larger scale to address this problem. The response to our virtual human sex trafficking global summits was tremendous. We've held 3 so far. We have another one coming up in this month, in October, but collectively attracted more than 700 participants consisting of first spouses, international, national, and state leaders, and service providers. And we have learned so much and created contacts and connections across state lines. Part of this process includes learning more about the trauma that comes from this abuse of a human life, this scourge on humanity, as Pope Francis calls it. So I attend courses, I participate in forums to better understand the effects that come from such trauma. And we're currently working on a trauma and ACEs statewide plan, so more on that to come. I take away from these courses that I attend a layman's understanding, a perspective, and then I share this knowledge with others in the hopes that they will also understand. You know, there are many everyday people that want to truly understand human sex trafficking and want to be involved. And the questions of what I can possibly do in this arena is asked. What can I have to offer? How can I make a difference? You see, I asked myself those same questions at one time. What can I possibly do? I am someone that does not have professional or formal training in this area of research and understanding of human sex trafficking. So to these men and women and young people who ask me, how can I get involved? I say, myself, this is what I have to offer. So I started by learning all I could. I am constantly educating myself by reading books and articles about trafficking and organizations that rescue, heal, and teach these victims how to rise above the ashes. I participate and listen to seminars and podcasts from law enforcement to really better understand their perspective. I volunteer at homes like Metanoia Manor in Louisiana, which is a safe haven for young girls who have been trafficked. It's actually one of the only in our country where state and civic organizations and faith-based groups have come together to make this happen. It's huge. I listen and learn, and my empathy is deepened when I look into the eyes of these girls. And the average age is 13. And currently, there's a lot of 11 and 12-year-olds in our home. I support and raise money for organizations that are doing the hard work of rescue and counseling and rebuilding the lives of these victims. I travel, speak, and share the stories of the survivors, and I lift them up in prayer. And this is how I support these victims and support the professionals that do the hard work. We have since created the National Coalition of Human Sex Trafficking Prevention, and we'll hold our first conference in New Orleans on April 22 for the NCAA weekend. As many of you know who are listening, large sporting events draw traffickers, and our goal is to consolidate resources from all of our state agencies to produce a large statewide campaign that says our state's people are not for sale. And we would love to see this replicated in our other states as well. Who knows, across the globe. As evidenced by this panel that has been assembled, it is crystal clear that even though we are countries and oceans apart, we truly are connected in many ways when it comes to poverty and the horrible crime of human sex trafficking. It's why it's so important that we share our works and resources at workshops like these. And lastly, I want to say we must invest in early childhood education. The children are truly our future. Let's not just say it, let's act upon it. Public education must be invested in, and healthcare for all, and affordable housing for the poor, which has become such an issue in our state. Otherwise, we need to all admit that we are trapping people inside the walls of poverty. So let us rise up to help those who are victims and teach others how to rise up by bringing awareness to human sex trafficking and the trappings of the poor. And together we all can make a difference. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for listening, and thank you for your inspiration, and may God bless you all.